Salutations and good morrow everyone, and welcome back to another grounded update video where today we're going to be taking a look at all of the changes to all of the mutations in the Christmas Treat update, or the newest update to Grounded. We have all sorts of new things that have changed with all of the weaponry mutations. And once you get them to tier 3, they have added brand new mastery bonuses as well. So I'm going to be going through, guys. I'll walk you guys through all the changes that were made, as well as going through and explaining some of these different terms that they're using, so you guys understand what these changes actually mean. So let's hop in, guys. And the first thing we're actually going to start with before we get into that is this top one before we get into weaponry, and that is the Mysterious Stranger mutation will no longer damage you. So he will like swing through you and then damage the bugs instead. So cool little thing there. No more damage that's going to happen to you from your little buddy that you summon out, making it. They didn't up the summon rate on him, which to me is a little bit of a bummer, but they didn't up the summon rate on him. But at least with it not doing damage to you, it makes it so it's more of a usable mutation now, if you want a little side partner that comes out every now and then. Still, to me, the Mom Genes perk, if you want familiars or pets in the game that come and attack for you, the Mom Genes perk is still a better one in my opinion, because the Mysterious Stranger just doesn't come out enough. But that's just all speculation. Let's hop in and let's talk about weaponry. So we're going to go through each of them: the dagger, axe, hammer, spear, sword, club, staff, and bow, and unarmed. We're going to go through all of these, but when we're going through them, I'm going to give you guys a look at what they used to be and then what they are now. And then we're going to go into Grounded at the end. We're going to actually look at a couple of these different weapons and see how the changes have affected them. So first things first, you guys know my personal favorite in the game, daggers. Daggers that used to have up to a 15% chance to apply bleed, which did 100 bleed damage over 10 seconds for all levels that you had. That was okay, but you were only getting a 5, 10, or 15% chance to bleed, so you weren't really getting that bleed damage, even though you were hitting over and 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 over again, right? You still weren't getting that bleed damage actually being applied because it was such a small amount for it to be applied. Now, with the new changes, they've made it so you bleed on every hit. Here, let me scroll in a little bit here for you guys so you can see a little bit better. You bleed on every single hit. So you'll automatically cause that, and that resets every time you smack an enemy with a dagger. So it's bleed, 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 causing that 5-second bleed counter to just keep on going the more you're attacking. And the bleed damage is lower in beginner tiers, but higher at the end when it gets to 75 damage, always being applied. That makes daggers that much more powerful, thus fixing some of the brokenness that's in this game. Because say you want to get a dagger skill up to tier 3, but you don't want to go fight tier 3 enemies, that's fine. Don't go kill tier 3 enemies. Just go kill mites until you have a tier 3 dagger skill, the tier 3 assassin perk. This is the assassin perk, by the way. Get that, and boom, Bob's your uncle. Now you have the ability to use your mastery perk, and that mastery bonus, the dagger hits, reduces targets bleed resistance by 25%. So just upping that bleed damage a little bit more. So there you go. Daggers became even more powerful, even better. Let's go on to axes now. So axes had a 5, 8, and 10% chance to stagger an enemy on hit. That's what the perk did, right? Not that helpful. Why would you use it? Chopper, it's okay, but it could be better. And they made it a lot better. Now it's a 100% chance to reduce the enemy's physical damage resistance. Chopping, bashing, slashing, stabbing on hit. Okay? They've changed it so you have a 100% chance to reduce their resistances, making it so now your damages from all points are going to be even better. Okay, then the damage resist reduction scales up based on mutation. So not only are you going to be reducing it 100%, or you're going to be 100% chance to reduce it, you're also going to be reducing it by 10, 15, and then 20%. So 20% less chopping resistance for the bugs. So say you're fighting something like a Black Widow, and you go up and you have tier 3, and you walk up and you reduce their damage by hitting them a few times and reduce their resistance. Quick swap over to a dagger and hit them once to apply poison. Well, Black Widows are immune to poison, so that really wouldn't work. But say you use something else, right? It's gonna make it so it's that much better for you. Also, this helps because Chopper, the axe skill, does go into the scythe, which can be upgraded using the Apex Predator perk in hand with it, making it so it's even more powerful. Axes and scythes just got all the better. Also, the mastery bonus on this one, attacking with an axe applies a buff to the player that removes their non-exhausted stamina regen delay. So, when you're fighting and you get your stamina down just a little bit, you actually have a timer that it takes before it starts regenning. With this, when you're mastery and you have an axe out, that goes away. So you attack. It's not all the way gone, but you attack to like halfway, then you have to block. Well, while you're blocking, guess what? As long as you're using a shield, because blocks now affect stamina, we'll talk more about that later, but as long as you're using a shield, your stamina will go whoop, right back up. It'll start rising up again. So mastery for axes is a good one. This isn't as good as some of the other mastery perks, but nonetheless, this one's still really good. All right, hammers. Old version of hammers, 10, 25, 30% chance to slow an enemy's attack speed by 20% whenever you are hitting them with a hammer. Not the greatest skill in the world, but slowing enemies' attack is good, especially when you're fighting things like a Broodmother or a Mantis and you need them to slow down a little bit, so that way you can block, perfect block, things like that. Now, the new changes is a 100% chance to slow the enemy's attack speed up to 30%. So really, it's the same thing, but you're not... When you get to tier 2, you're doing the same amount of slow percentage. When you get to tier 3, you're doing increased slow percentage now, and you're 100% doing it all the time, making it that much better. Also, the mastery bonus hammers apply 50% more stun damage on all of their attacks, so you're going to be stunning that much more often with a hammer, which is good because hammers are slow weapons. This is talking Pebblet, Insect, and the Black Ox hammer. That's the hammers we're talking about here. This is a decent one. This actually is pretty good because hammers already have a decent amount of stun damage on them. So with you being able to apply 50% more, you're going to be stunning a lot more often, which is a helpful thing when you're using such a slow weapon. Okay, going on to spears. 15, 25, 30% chance to lower enemies' damage resistance by 20%. Okay, and thrown damage within spears increases by 10, 20, and 30%. Okay. That's okay. Not a lot of people throw their spears. I'm just being honest. Like, I don't ever throw my spear when I'm using it. My rust spear, I'd rather not throw it. Now, if you have like 20 of them in your inventory, you could do that and just sit there and throw spears for a ton of time. But for now, that's what it used to be. Now, with the new update to Grounded, it's saying thrown damage with spears increased by 10, 20, and 30%. Same as it was. Okay, attacking with a spear gives a temporary buff that reflects 50, 75, and 100% of damage back to the enemy. Reflecting all damage, 100% of the damage back onto the enemy. Excuse me, Mr. Black Widow, would you like to be stabbed with a spear today? Thank you very much. And also, the mastery bonus on this one, kind of crap, but it's charge attacks deal 30% more damage. I don't charge attack with spear very often. Spears are innately a fast weapon, so to me, I feel as though that a fast attack with the spear is what's needed, not a charge attack. Let's go on to swords. This one, a lot of people got excited over because of its mastery bonus, but we'll talk more about that here in a second so I can walk you guys through what it means. So, first of all, swords, old version, 5, 10, 15% chance to lower stamina consumption for weapon swings by 20%. So you had a 15% chance to lower the stamina consumption for swings every time you were hitting to 20% of what it, by 20%. Okay, so making it so it only takes 80% of the stamina it normally would in order to swing your weapon, a 15% chance for that to happen. Really worth you having that perk on? Not really. It didn't really do anything for you. Like the Tick Bat, which is technically a sword, or the Black Ant sword, all those swords, they didn't really consume that much stamina, with an exception to maybe the Coltana. You weren't really getting that much stamina usage from a sword, but now they've made it so hitting a creature with a slow sword lowers their attack damage by up to 30%. So it's no longer lowering stamina consumption at all with that. But the mastery bonus, hitting an enemy with a sword gives you a temporary buff that lowers exhaustion timer by 90%. What that means, exhaustion timer is when you get your stamina all the way to 0. There is a timer that it takes before it goes whoop, and it goes up really, really fast, right? This lowers that exhaustion timer by 90%. So say it's a 5-second timer. you do out the math here really quick, it would make it so it takes about half of a second or so, or around a second, for it to shoot right back up now. So that's not saying that's how long the exhaustion timer takes. It's a couple seconds, but nonetheless, anyway, it makes it so your swings, you swing it all the way down to exhaustion, you sit there and you have to wait a second, maybe while you're just waiting for an enemy to attack, you wait a second and that exhaustion timer will shoot your energy right back up, making it so you can almost, not 100%, but almost keep hitting an enemy indefinitely. Like you never run out of stamina. You will run out of stamina, right? Because you will become exhausted and there is that timer. But if you're using light armor, because light armor, that exhaustion timer is lower. If you use light armor plus this, it's going to make it so your weapons are, you're going to be able to just keep swinging more and more and more and more and more. And you're lowering their attack damage while you're hitting. So you're not going to take as much damage. So really it makes it so swords are great if you're going to be using light armor now. So go out there, check out that. This build brings all sorts of new build ideas to my mind that I'll be making for all of you guys here very soon. All right, let's go on to the clubs. Clubs got a big overhaul because of the rage. This is the Barbarian perk, guys. So the Barbarian perk got overhauled, right? So it's a 15, 20, and 25% chance to enter rage on combat. Rage increases damage by 20% at all levels, and rage prevents perfect block, right? Rage preventing perfect block sucked, but you were doing a lot of damage anyway whenever rage happened, and rage didn't happen all the time. Now, you have a 100% chance for rage to happen as soon as you hit a creature with a club. The rage increased club damage by 15, 20, 25%. So this is bringing you up higher than what it used to be if you get this to tier 3, which you can get to tier 3 once again by going and killing mites or red ants or all those easy creatures in the yard to get these perk levels up. Rage still prevents perfect block. That just happens. But now the mastery bonus. The mastery bonus for a club is that you're going to start regenerating HP every second while in rage. And this also scales if you're using something like the Ladybug armor that increases the amount of healing that you receive from all sources. So it's going to make it so while you're in rage, you can literally just keep increasing your health while sitting there and just going ham swinging with a huge club. Couple that with something like stamina recovery time. So name of the perk just flew right out of my brain. I don't even remember what it's called right now, but the one that makes so you recover stamina faster. Coupling with that is going to make this really, really powerful because you're always going to be in rage, which means you're always going to be regaining health if it's mastered. With the Ladybug armor, which is already heavy armor and has a decent defense and damage resistant perk on it, all in all, this is going to become very, very, very powerful. And you can still block. You can't perfect block, but you can still block. And blocking with Ladybug armor full set on gives you the chance to regain health anyway. It's a whole thing. It makes this whole set really worth it. Very tanky, very, very much brawler-esque version of a build now. Okay, going on. Stabs. Stabs got overhauled as well. So before, 15, or 20% chance to proc an extra elemental effect based on your staff type. Spicy adds burn, fresh adds movement slow, and sour adds stun damage, right? Okay. Each of those had their own. Burn was 50 damage over 5 seconds. Fresh was 30% slow for 5 seconds. And Sour was 10 additional stun damage, right? Now, with the new stuff here, adds the appropriate element effect of the attack 100% of the time. So every time you're shooting your staff, you're going to apply 15, 20, 50, and then 75% burn damage to the enemy, which means damage over time, okay? 100% of the time with the Spicy Staff. The Fresh Staff lowers movement speed up to 30%. Lowering something's movement speed up to 30% is already kind of high, and I think that it's just as it's hitting it right now, right? And then Sour Staff, sadly, this one did get a debuff. The Sour adds 2, 4, 6 stun damage. Now, adding stun damage, that's a lot of stun to be adding something every time it hits it, but the Sour Staff shoots very slow, so it's kind of a bummer. But Speaking of shooting things slow or using a staff, the mastery bonus is attacks with staves apply a buff that reduces stamina cost further from all staff attacks by 50% while doing an attack. So it'll be attack after attack after attack, you're going to be lowering by 50%. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to be 50, 100, 150, 200, stuff like that. No, it's just going to be 50% less, 50% less, 50% less, 50% less. So, you know, it's always just that standard 50. You're not going to go to, you know, no stamina use at all, and then it's refunding you back 50% of your stamina, then it's refunding back 100% of your stamina. It's not going to work like that. But stabs became better, but the sour staff got a little bit of a debuff, which kind of bums me out because it's my favorite looking staff in the game. Okay, bows. Hold on. Before we go into this too much, I want to point out a little buff to bows. Buffs for bows is that you can now block with all bows. You can block with them. You turn them to the side, you hold them up, and you can block with them. And you can perfect block with them, which is awesome. It makes those bow builds that much better. You don't just need to run all the time anymore. You can actually take on something face to face. Now be careful with your Black Ox crossbow because it does take a while to reload, but you can now block with a crossbow, which is great, great, great news. Okay, old perk was 5, 10, 15% chance to root an enemy for 2 seconds. Rooting an enemy means they're stuck in the ground, they can't move, right? It's now been changed to reduce the stamina cost for sprinting after landing a bow attack by 50, 75 to 100%. 100% stamina reduction for 5 seconds for running, which means if all of a sudden you shoot something, you now have no stamina reduction for 5 seconds while you're running backwards if you're sprinting away to get yourself to a different area. Also, mastery perk changes to now it's going to apply special effects for the candy arrows, right? So spicy is 50% damage for spicy arrows. It adds burn damage. Fresh slows enemies. It doesn't root, but it slows. So fresh arrows became better because now you can slow enemies for 5 seconds. And then they added 10 stun damage per arrow being shot for sour arrows, which is great. Now, sadly, Salty doesn't have a perk to it, sadly, but still, nonetheless, awesome to see us getting mastery bonuses for candy arrows, making it so our archers have the ability to use those candy arrows now to the fullest of their ability. And finally, guys, we have unarmed. It was a 25, 50, or 75% chance to increase unarmed damage dealt by 2% until combat ends, stacks indefinitely. Meaning you had a 75% chance to just increase your damage over and 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 over again. Right? Making it so by the time, if you had like unlimited stamina, that you could just get it to the point where you're dealing as much damage as, say, like a dagger or a sword or even an axe at some points. Not quite getting up to a two-handed weapon damage type, but you were getting pretty high up there. But now the damage is 100% chance to increase unarmed damage attacks by 1, 1.5, and 2.5 until combat ends. So now it's 100% of the time going to happen if you get this to tier 3, and it's 2% still, and it's going to happen every time you hit something. So that's awesome. It's making unarmed even better, and it has a mastery bonus now of every unarmed attack launches a mini follow-up punch for half damage. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to go into ground and I'm going to show you guys a couple of these. I'm not going to show every single one of them, but I'm going to show a couple of them so you guys can check them out. Okay, so here we are inside of ground. Let me toss on the old headphones here really quick, and let's grab some weapons, shall we? So I have my dagger already. Let's go ahead and grab our mint mace here, because that's a good one to have. And let's go ahead and grab ourselves, not a staff, because that's not, let's just do the unarmed. We'll do a dagger, we'll do the mint mace for barbarian, and we'll do unarmed. Now I don't have my unarmed perk all the way, but I want to show you guys how this perk changed. So let's start off with daggers. Okay, I'm gonna remove my poison gear that I'm wearing right now, okay, to show the damage that's being done. Now there is going to be added poison damage because technically this is a Black Widow dagger, so it's already going to be doing a lot more damage. But I want to show you guys the bleed status that you can cause to an enemy. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to fight this orb weaver here. So there you go. Now you can see that bleed damage being applied. And yes, I do have the assassin perk on. You can see that bleed damage being applied. That was also the poison as well. Okay. But look how quickly its health just deteriorates, and that's without adding any of my other bonuses from wearing all of my poison armor, right? So very, very, very helpful there. Now let's talk unarmed damage here, okay? Let's talk unarmed. I'm just going to put on some armor. That way I don't die. And I'm going to take off my shield. So that way we could punch things again. And let's go over and show you guys the changes to fighting with your fists. So notice how you now have... Oop, I need to put on the... Oh, crap. Run away. I don't have my stuff on. Oh, crap. I forgot to put the perk on. Fight for me, Squire. Fight for me. I forgot to put the perk on. Oh, no. Run away. I forgot to put the perk on. That's the whole point of this. Okay, here we go. All right, take off Assassin. Let's put on Little Fist when I have a time. There we go. Put that off. Okay. So there you go. You can start to see that it's actually doing bonus damage to the creatures. I just went back to block. Yeah, because that's going to work. Now, I have no other perks on, but I am slowly increasing the amount of damage. Now, I don't have Mastery yet with this one. I have to get Mastery in order to do the little 2-punch, right? The 2-punch hit. I don't have Mastery yet. But this one, increasing that damage, you saw slowly it was increasing. I have Poison Armor on, but nonetheless, this is still a good perk for you to have, especially if you mix in things like the Power Droplet that's allowing you to do more damage, and you add in the Explosive Mutation that's right here, the Truffle Tussle. This makes fighting with your fists a very, very, very valuable thing that you can now do in the game. All right, and finally, let's check out Barbarian here, because Barbarian is one that a lot of people are going to be super excited about with the fact that it can now heal you over time. So I'm going to go through. I have this one mastered out. You guys can see, there we go. I already have Barbarian, and there's that health increase that we were getting. Right? There's that health increase of slowly regenerating health. Now, it doesn't last for very long, right? But if you're in there and you're just sitting there swinging away, you are going to get health back. Now, this is a very dangerous, very, very, very dangerous thing to do, because it will technically make it so you can't perfect block. But with heavy weapons like a Mint Mace, like a Club of the Mother Demon that applies its own poison, if you're using Apex Predator, all these things, it becomes that much stronger. So the mutation changes that were added to the game, in my opinion, were definitely needed. The overhaul was definitely needed. They took the audience's feedback and they gave us a large, massive change to all the mutations, which I'm very excited about. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and leave me a comment down below. I can't wait to explore all of these mutations with you guys in the next live stream. And thank you guys so much. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.